What if the person who ruined your life didn't even remember you? 10 years ago, Sean Kinney made my high school existence a living hell. And tonight, I'm finally gonna make him pay. Drop a hell no in the comments if you'd never go back to your high school reunion, especially if your bully was there. I wasn't always like this. You have to understand that. There was a time when I laughed easily, when I didn't flinch at loud noises, when I didn't check over my shoulder every time I walked into a room. But then there was Sean Kinney, and after 4 years of being his favorite target, I wasn't Brendan Rossi anymore. Not really. I was just a kid who got shoved into lockers, the one whose homework got lost, the punchline to every joke. And Sean was the golden boy, the star athlete, the guy who could do no wrong, even when he was doing everything wrong. Teachers loved him. Girls sighed when he walked by. Even the principal slapped him on the back like they were old friends. And why wouldn't they? Sean had this way of making cruelty look like charm. He'd smile while he ruined you, like it was all just some fun little game. But I knew the truth. I saw the way his eyes lit up when he found a new way to break someone down. It wasn't just bullying. It was hunting, and I was his favorite prey. 10 years. That's how long it had been since I set foot in that school. 10 years of therapy, of jumping at shadows, of waking up in a cold sweat remembering the sound of his laughter. And yet, there I was, standing in the parking lot of my own personal hell, staring at the glowing lights of the gymnasium, the reunion. I hadn't even wanted to come, but some twisted, gnawing thing inside me dragged me there anyway. Maybe I needed to prove to myself that I wasn't afraid anymore. Or maybe, just maybe, I needed Sean Kinney to finally see me. The second I walked in, the smell hit me first. Cheap cologne and stale punch. And then, like some sick joke, I heard his voice. That same loud, booming laugh that used to echo through the halls right before he made my life miserable. My stomach twisted, my hands clenched, and then I saw him. Same cocky grin, same way of standing like he owned the place. Time hadn't changed him at all, but it had changed me. I wasn't that scrawny kid anymore. I wasn't the one who'd take it and keep his head down. And as I watched him holding court like he was still the king of this pathetic little world, something inside me snapped. All those years of rage, of humiliation, of being nothing but a punchline, it all came rushing back. And I realized something. I wasn't here to remember the past. I was here to rewrite it. He didn't recognize me at first. Why would he? To Sean, I was just another nobody. Another face in the crowd he'd forgotten the second he threw his cap in the air at graduation. But then I stepped into his light. And when his eyes finally landed on me, when that smug smile faltered for just a second, I knew. He remembered. "Hey, man," he said, all fake cheer, like we were old buddies. "Good to see you. What was your name again?" That was it. That was the moment. The final insult. A decade of my pain. And he didn't even remember my name. I smiled. And for the first time in my life, I saw something flicker in Sean's eyes. Not guilt, not regret, but fear. Real, raw fear. Because tonight, I wasn't the victim. Tonight, he was. The moment I stepped through those gym doors, it all came rushing back. That smell, cheap cologne mixed with sweat, and the faintest hint of floor polish. Hit me like a punch to the gut. And then I saw him, Sean Kinney, standing there like he owned the place, surrounded by his old crew, laughing that same loud, obnoxious laugh that used to echo through the hallways right before he made my life hell. God, he hadn't changed at all. Still had that cocky swagger, that way of leaning into conversations like everyone should be grateful he was talking to them. The way his eyes scanned the room, not looking for friends, but for someone to entertain him, for someone to be his next victim, just like old times. I felt my fingers tighten around my drink. The ice cubes clinked together, and for a second, I imagined it was his teeth rattling. That's when it hit me. All those years of therapy, all that work to move on, and here I was, right back where I started, my heart pounding, my palms sweating, that same old fear creeping up my spine. But then something else rose up in me, something hotter, sharper, because looking at Sean now, really looking at him, I saw something I hadn't noticed before. The way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes anymore. The faint lines of stress around his mouth. The slight paunch under his too-tight dress shirt. Time had touched him after all. The realization hit me like a lightning bolt. He wasn't untouchable. Not anymore. Maybe he never had been. All those years I'd spent thinking of him as some kind of monster, some unstoppable force. But he was just a man, a pathetic, aging man clinging to his glory days. I took a long sip of my drink, letting the burn of cheap whiskey steady my nerves. My reflection in the glass looked different tonight. Harder, older, stronger. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't here to catch up with old classmates. I wasn't here to pretend the past didn't happen. I was here to look Sean Kinney in the eye and make sure he never forgot my name again. The crowd parted as I walked toward him. People I hadn't seen in 10 years glanced at me, then quickly looked away. Maybe they sensed it. The electricity in the air, the tension rolling off me in waves. Or maybe they just remembered how it used to be. Sean was holding court near the punch bowl, telling some story that had his sycophants laughing on cue. His back was to me. Perfect. I waited until I was close enough to smell that awful cologne again before I spoke. Remember me, Sean? My voice came out calmer than I expected. Steadier. The way his shoulders stiffened told me everything I needed to know. The game was on. The air turned thick as I walked toward him. Every step felt like wading through molasses. Sean was holding court near the bar, surrounded by his old gang of sycophants, laughing too loud at some joke that probably wasn't funny. That same laugh that used to echo through the hallways right before he'd make my life hell. He didn't notice me at first. Too busy being the center of attention, just like always. I watched as he threw back a shot, slamming the glass down with that performative machismo he perfected in high school. Then his eyes flicked toward me. Just for a second. No recognition. Nothing. Like I was just another face in the crowd. Hey, man, he called out when I got closer, that fake friendly tone dripping with condescension. He clapped a heavy hand on my shoulder like we were old friends. Good to see you. What was your name again? The words hit me like a physical blow. 10 years. 10 years of nightmares, of flinching at loud noises, of jumping at shadows. 10 years of carrying the weight of what he'd done to me. And he didn't even remember my name. I felt something inside me fracture. All those years of swallowing my anger, of pretending it didn't matter, of telling myself I'd moved on, it all came rushing to the surface like floodwaters breaching a dam. My fingers curled into fists at my sides. The background noise of the reunion faded into a dull roar. All I could see was Sean's stupid, smug face, still waiting for me to remind him who I was. I leaned in close enough to smell the whiskey on his breath. You don't remember me? I whispered, my voice barely audible over the music. Let me refresh your memory. Something in my tone must have registered, because his smile faltered. For the first time ever, I saw something flicker in Sean Kinney's eyes that wasn't arrogance or amusement. It was fear. Real, genuine fear. And that's when I knew the game had changed. The rules were different now. No more running. No more hiding. No more being the scared kid who took whatever abuse he dished out. Tonight, Sean was going to learn exactly what happens when you push someone too far for too long. Tonight, he was going to find out what real fear tastes like. I smiled, not the nervous, placating smile I used to give him in the hallways, not the fake grin I perfected to get through each day. This was different. This smile made his face go pale. Let's take a walk, I said, tightening my grip on his arm just enough to let him know it wasn't a request. We got a lot of catching up to do. The way his Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed told me everything I needed to know. The predator had become the prey, and the hunt was just beginning. The morning after the reunion, They found Sean Kinney's name tag lying in the parking lot. Just that stupid little sticker with his name in bold letters, smeared with something dark that could have been mud, could have been something else. His car sat untouched in the lot all night, doors locked, keys still in the ignition, like he'd just vanished into thin air. People talked, of course. They always do. Some said he'd skipped town, that he'd finally run from something instead of making others run from him. Others whispered that maybe, just maybe, karma had finally caught up with Sean Kinney. The police asked questions. They looked at me harder than they looked at anyone else. But they never found anything. No body, no evidence. Just an empty chair at the breakfast table where the reunion committee was counting heads. I still see his face sometimes when I close my eyes. Not the smug, laughing face from high school. Not even the scared, wide-eyed expression he wore when I finally made him understand exactly who I was. I see the face he made in that final moment, when he realized some debts can't be paid with apologies. When he understood that 10 years of my nightmares deserved more than a handshake and no hard feelings. The strange thing? Nobody really missed him. Oh, they pretended to. His old buddies made a big show of being concerned. But a month later, life went on like Sean Kinney had never existed. The world keeps turning, even for monsters. Sometimes I walk past our old high school just to feel the weight of it all. The memories don't hurt like they used to. The lockers don't seem as tall. The hallways not as long. Funny how time changes things. Funny how people change. I keep Sean's name tag in my desk drawer. Not as a trophy. Not as a reminder. Just to prove to myself that it really happened. That after all those years of being afraid, I finally stood my ground. And the ground held. So if you're thinking about going to your reunion, ask yourself one question. Who are you really going back to see? The friends you've missed? The teachers who inspired you? Or that one person who made your life hell, who might not even remember your name? Be careful with your answer, because some reunions are better left unattended, and some ghosts should stay buried. But if you do go, if you happen to see that special someone from your past, well, let's just say I hope they remember you, for their sake. Let me know in the comments. Would you confront your bully? Or is some darkness better left buried? And if you think Brenda went too far, type justice or too far below. Some scars never heal. Sleep well.